The story begins with a young and powerful millionaire CEO named Alexander Knight, a man who has everything money can buy: luxury, respect, and power, but not freedom over his own life. His parents, owners of a vast business empire, have been pressuring him into an arranged marriage with Victoria Langford, the daughter of another elite family. This union, they say, would strengthen both companies and maintain their family's reputation. But for Alexander, the idea of marrying for convenience instead of love feels suffocating. Days before the official engagement announcement, his family hosts a grand charity gala, a gathering of high society elites, investors, and media. As Alexander walks through the event, he can feel every gaze fixed on him, expecting a public display of affection toward his soon-to-be fiancée. But deep down, he knows he can't go through with it. His heart is not in it, and the thought of living a lie for the rest of his life gnaws at his conscience. At that very moment, fate intervenes. His new maid, Emma, had been asked by the event manager to deliver a tray of champagne to the guests. She's new, shy, and completely unaware that she's about to be caught in the middle of a powerful man's rebellion against his destiny. As she steps into the ballroom, her eyes meet Alexander's, a fleeting second that changes everything. Seeing his parents and Victoria walking toward him with cameras flashing, Alexander panics. His mind races for an escape, any escape. Then, in a daring move that shocks everyone, he strides toward Emma, gently grabs her by the waist, and kisses her in front of the entire crowd. Gasps echo across the hall. The photographer's flashes explode like fireworks. Everyone freezes. When the kiss ends, Emma stands speechless, her tray trembling in her hands. Alexander, still holding her, calmly declares, "This is the woman I love. I'm not marrying anyone else." The hall erupts in whispers and outrage, his parents' faces turning pale with disbelief. What began as a desperate attempt to avoid a forced marriage now becomes the turning point of both their lives. For Alexander, that single kiss symbolizes defiance, freedom, and the first real emotion he's felt in years. For Emma, it marks the beginning of a storm she never saw coming, a whirlwind of lies, media frenzy, and, eventually, a love neither of them expected. Emma Carter never imagined her life would collide with that of a billionaire. Born into a modest family, she grew up learning the value of hard work, honesty, and dignity. When her father fell ill and her younger brother needed school fees, Emma decided to leave college and take a job as a maid to support them. After weeks of searching, she was hired by the Knight family, one of the wealthiest and most influential families in the city. It wasn't her dream job, but it was a chance to keep her family afloat. Her first few days in the Knight mansion were overwhelming. The place was enormous: marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and staff who spoke in hushed tones as if afraid to disturb the grandeur. Emma tried to stay invisible, quietly cleaning rooms and avoiding unnecessary interaction. She'd heard rumors about her new boss, Alexander Knight, cold, ambitious, and emotionally untouchable. Yet, when she saw him from afar, she noticed something others didn't: a quiet sadness behind his confident eyes. On the night of the grand charity gala, Emma was assigned to help serve drinks. Nervous but determined to do well, she carried a silver tray of champagne through the glittering hall filled with celebrities, politicians, and media. She walked carefully, her eyes lowered, until she accidentally caught Alexander's gaze across the crowd. For a fleeting second, something unspoken passed between them, a strange recognition neither could explain. Moments later, before she could even process what was happening, Alexander walked straight toward her and kissed her in front of everyone. The room went silent. Her heart raced, her mind blank. Cameras flashed, people whispered, and she stood frozen, still holding the tray. When he declared her to be his lover, Emma's world tilted upside down. After the chaos, she was terrified. She thought she would lose her job, maybe even be sued for something she didn't do. But instead, Alexander came to her privately and explained about the arranged marriage, the family pressure, and his desperate need to escape it. He offered her a deal: pretend to be his girlfriend for a few weeks until he could convince his family to call off the engagement. In return, he would ensure her family's financial security. Though her instincts told her to run, Emma saw the sincerity in his eyes, and against all logic, she agreed. What began as an act of kindness and survival would soon lead her into a world of wealth, lies, and a love she never saw coming. What started as a desperate act soon turned into a tangled web of emotions neither Alexander nor Emma could escape. Their fake relationship was supposed to be temporary, just long enough to convince his parents that he was serious about someone else and avoid the arranged marriage. But as the days passed, the lines between acting and feeling began to blur. At first, Emma struggled to adjust to her new role. She wasn't used to designer dresses, luxury cars, or public attention. The mansion staff now looked at her differently, some with envy, others with contempt. Social media exploded with rumors about the maid who stole the billionaire's heart, painting her as a manipulative opportunist. Through it all, Alexander remained protective, ensuring she wasn't hurt or humiliated. He told her to ignore the gossip, but secretly, he admired how gracefully she handled the cruelty of his world. For Alexander, Emma's presence was like a breath of fresh air. Unlike the people who surrounded him for his wealth and status, she was genuine. She laughed freely, spoke honestly, and treated everyone with respect, even him. He began to notice the small things, how she hummed softly while working, how her eyes lit up when she talked about her family, how she always put others before herself. It was something he hadn't experienced before, warmth without conditions. Their staged outings, dinners, charity events, and business functions, became moments of unexpected connection. The way she held his hand to make the act believable felt too natural. The way she looked at him when no one was watching made his heart race. And when she smiled, really smiled, it wasn't part of the performance anymore. One evening, after a long business meeting, Alexander found Emma waiting for him in the garden. She had made tea for him, saying he looked tired. It was such a simple gesture, yet it broke something open inside him. For the first time, he realized how empty his life had been before she walked into it. He found himself laughing more, caring more, feeling more. But love wasn't supposed to be part of the deal, and both of them knew it. The more real their feelings became, the more dangerous it was. Because if the truth ever came out, their fragile bond could destroy everything they'd built, his reputation, her dignity, and the only happiness either of them had ever found. Just when everything seemed to settle into a fragile calm, the illusion began to crack. The more Alexander and Emma grew close, the more suspicious his family, and especially his fiancée's family, became. The tabloids buzzed with speculation, investors whispered behind closed doors, and the Langfords, humiliated by the public rejection, vowed to uncover the truth behind the so-called love affair. One afternoon, as Emma was leaving the mansion to visit her father at the hospital, she was ambushed by reporters. Cameras flashed, microphones pushed into her face, questions shouted over one another. Are you really dating Mr. Knight? How much are they paying you to pretend? Is this a publicity stunt? The headlines the next morning were brutal: billionaire CEO's Maid exposed, a fake romance built on lies. The chaos reached the Knight family home. Alexander's parents confronted him, furious and ashamed. His mother accused Emma of manipulation, his father demanded he end the farce immediately. Alexander, for the first time in his life, refused to obey. He defended Emma fiercely, saying she wasn't part of any scheme, that she was innocent, and that their relationship was real. His parents were stunned, they had never seen their son speak with such conviction, especially for someone of lower class. Meanwhile, Emma felt the full weight of the scandal. She locked herself in her small room, tears streaming down her face as she scrolled through cruel online comments calling her a gold digger, a liar, a social climber. She wanted to disappear, to quit, to go back to her simple life. But deep inside, a part of her couldn't walk away, not from Alexander, not after everything they had shared. The turning point came at a charity press event, where the Langfords publicly confronted Alexander. In front of cameras and business leaders, Victoria accused Emma of destroying her engagement and demanded Alexander apologize. All eyes turned to him, the perfect opportunity to save his reputation, restore his family's honor, and end the scandal. But Alexander didn't take it. Instead, he stepped forward, reached for Emma's hand, and said the words that silenced the entire room. "You're right. This all began as a lie. But somewhere along the way, it became the truest thing in my life. I love her." Gasps echoed through the hall. For a man who had once lived by logic, contracts, and deals, this was his boldest move yet, risking everything for love. But the battle was far from over. Love had been confessed, yet the world around them was ready to tear it apart. The moment Alexander declared his love for Emma in front of the world, everything changed, but not without consequences. The Knight family and the Langfords were outraged. The media had a field day, broadcasting the billionaire CEO's scandalous choice across every channel. Yet, despite the chaos, Alexander stood firm. For the first time, he realized that no amount of money, power, or societal expectation could replace the happiness he felt with Emma. Emma, meanwhile, was overwhelmed. The world she had once navigated cautiously, careful to stay invisible, unnoticed, and safe, now stared at her openly. Yet, in Alexander's eyes, she saw unwavering support. Every glance, every reassuring smile told her that this was real, that she wasn't just a pawn in a game of wealth and power, but the woman he genuinely loved. The battles weren't easy. Alexander's parents refused to accept Emma, cutting off communication and threatening to disinherit him. The Langfords attempted to sabotage his business deals and humiliate Emma further, labeling her a manipulative social climber. But Alexander was relentless. He used his influence not to crush his enemies, but to protect the woman who had captured his heart. He stood up in board meetings, in family gatherings, and in front of the media, repeating one truth: Emma Carter is the love of my life, and nothing, not wealth, not pressure, not status, can change that. Over time, Emma's courage and authenticity began to win people over. Staff at the mansion who were initially wary started to respect her. Social media sentiment gradually shifted, with many admiring the maid who had won the heart of a billionaire. Emma and Alexander's relationship became a symbol, proof that love is not dictated by class or money, but by sincerity, courage, and connection. The final turning point came when Alexander officially ended the arranged engagement with Victoria, explaining to both families and the public that his life, his heart, and his future were his own to choose. It was a bold statement against societal norms, but one that resonated with people everywhere. In the end, Alexander and Emma didn't just survive the storm, they thrived in it. Their love, born from a moment of desperation, had matured into a bond stronger than any contract, social expectation, or family pressure. Together, they showed that true love requires bravery, sacrifice, and faith in one another, and that the heart, when followed courageously, can triumph over even the most rigid rules of society. The story closes with them walking hand in hand through the Knight estate's gardens, sunlight illuminating their faces, a symbol that genuine love can conquer the impossible.